Great afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this very special influence session for the accounting industry. We're very pleased to have a great panel of experts join us today. But the reason why we pulled together this team is because business is getting faster and faster. There's so many more options. Accountancy tends to be a more conservative industry, but the way business is developing today, we're noticing more and more accountants are looking outside the box from previous methods of attracting business and technologies and all that sort of stuff. So we've come across in our work with accountants quite a few interesting experts who we've got joining us today. So my name's Emma Monro, and I'm now going to introduce the panel. Now, if you are watching live, if you want to put your name and details into the Q&A box down below, we'd love to know who's actually watching us today. But if you're watching the recording, then please send us a message and let us know what you think. So first of all, I'm going to ask Trent to introduce himself. Trent, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and telling us about who you are and what you do. No, Trent's just dropped out by the looks of him. So we'll shoot over to Nick. Nick, would you mind unmuting yourself and telling us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Nick Sinclair from WealthFarm. So an accountant, financial advisor and mortgage broker on the Gold Coast. We've got a firm on the Gold Coast, and we also have a offshore business called the Outsourced Accountant, which specialises in outsourcing for accountants and financial advisors.
Excellent. How long have you been in the industry for, Nick? I mean, you're very well embedded in the industry, so how long have you been doing this for?
11 years now.
Fantastic. So just a short amount of time. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts later on. Now, Justin, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and introducing what you do.
Hi, yes. I'm Justin Campbell. I work for a company called Xero, which is an accounting software company in the cloud, and I've personally I started my accountancy degree back in 2003, and I got out my textbook the other day and realised it was 11 years old. So and that was quite a shock to realise it'd been that long.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how long have you been with Xero for?
Since February of 2013, so
okay.
So a bit over a year now.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, and we're looking forward to learning more about what Xero is doing in the accountancy market at the moment. So I'll get you to mute yourself if you don't mind, Justin. Now we've got Dean, who's joining us from the business banking sector of NAB. Welcome, Dean.
Thanks very much for having me. So yeah, I work for the NAB. My current role is as a transaction banking specialist, so that's to really look at functional aspects of managing cash flow and providing advice on taking payments, managing cash holdings and making payments back away. But previously I've held account management roles, lending roles, and before that I've been in trade credit analysis and a number of things across the SME and small corporate market. So very keen to see what everybody has to say and hopefully add some insights from the banking world.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us today, Dean. Excellent. So the big question that I asked the panelists today is, what do each of us believe is the key influencing factor in the accounting industry at the moment? It's a big question, and we're all from totally different aspects of the industry. So I'm going to shoot first over to Nicholas Sinclair, because you own an accounting practice as well as having this amazing outsourcing centre. So I'd like to get both sides of the equation from you, if that's okay, Nick.
Yeah, wonderful. So from a, I suppose, an accounting point of view or from a practice point of view, the biggest issue that we have, and I found by going on Rob Nixon's Capitalising on the Cloud tour with, I think it was 1,350 accountants, the biggest problem most accounting firms have is actually the capacity to do the day-to-day compliance work. And the reality is that I see compliance over the next 5 years becoming a commodity, in that's not where we add value to clients. We actually add value by giving advice and helping them grow their business, not actually processing piles of paperwork. So one of the things that we see a big change and why we moved into the outsourcing business is that we need to lower our cost of doing the compliance work. That while it is valuable and we do add value doing it, it is really low value work. It's stuff that we have to lodge for the ATO. It's not things that actually help a client grow their business. There's a lot of old school accountants that beat their chest and say, look, you're undermining the complexity of compliance work, and that's not what we're doing. We're saying we need to reduce the cost of compliance work using cloud technologies like the Xeros and the mobs. They're slowly coming back into the market. Using those technologies will make us more efficient, get the work done at a lower cost base, and then use this live data that we now have to actually help our clients make money and grow their business. Because that's what we're here to do. We're advisors. We're not actually, processors. But what we found as an accounting business, and what we've found with all of our industry colleagues, is that 80% of managers' roles and even partners' roles is doing administration, and they're very, very highly paid administrators. So we see the change being you need to get out of compliance and bring it down for a lower cost, make it more efficient, make the process work, and then actually add value to your clients. Hence why we set up the outsourcing business originally for ourselves, was so that we could lower those costs, produce it overseas, have our Australian staff upskilled so that they are now client-facing and adding value, not processing. So we originally did that for ourselves and put on 40-odd staff across marketing in different areas to help us do that as a business.
So how do you then see, Nick, the difference of skills that are going to be needed by university graduates that are coming out and wanting to get into the accountancy field, if you feel that is the real shift within the industry?
Yeah, so I suppose the nerds are going to have to learn how to talk to people, and I said this throughout Rob's 14 city conference thing that we did, is that people need to learn now how to communicate and sell advice and manage the process as opposed to doing the process. It's happened in the mortgage broking industry, it's happened in the financial planning industry years ago. The accounting industry now needs to basically get up to speed. 2/3 of your office are going to be involved in actually talking to clients and adding value to clients. The other third is still going to be your technicians who are reviewing the work and training your offshore team to become efficient so that they can actually have the Australian team delivering that advice. And by delivering the advice, most accountants, for example, we got a new client last week paying 25 grand a year to a second-tier firm for compliance work. We can do that same work offshore for $5,000 and still make a 40% profit on it.
Wow.
But sell advice up to $25,000. So then we'll do 4 projects of $5,000.
Yes.
We use Rob Nixon's new analytics software, which is a cloud-based software, which basically identifies the advice, gives you the templates to do the advice, and we run it from there. So while we're charging the same fee, we're in essence delivering 5 times the value that the normal accountant would for the same cost. So from us, if others don't do this, then they'll lose their clients to all these pop-up firms. And if you look at Xero's list of clients, you see all these really, really cool accountants that are pop-ups. They're running out of combis, they're running in funky offices like EWays. They're really cool, but they are all client-facing, they're all cloud-based, they're mobile, and they're not employing 20 staff to do administration. It's all cloud.
So you've just completed a 14-city tour explaining this concept. How was the response and the feedback from the audiences?
Besides the one person that wanted to punch me, and he told me that, if you go to Rob Nixon's website, there's a 23-minute video that was shown to everyone that came to the conference. And it was interesting because at first everyone was like, young startup, they didn't know I'd been in the industry that long. They didn't realise what we're trying to do is actually add value to clients. We're not saying compliance isn't important. We're saying it's a commodity that we can, with technology, make more efficient, do it at a lower cost, and then add more value to clients. So for us, I had a lot of negative feedback at the start, but to give you an example, there are 660 firms on that tour. I'm talking to about 10% of them at the moment about using our outsourcing business in the Philippines. So there was less than 5% of the industry at Rob's tour, and there's now less than 10% even talking about outsourcing. But the problem that I find is that the ones that don't do it in 5 years, they're going to have to do it.
Exactly, exactly. So it's the early adopters that are going to have the real advantage here, aren't they, Nick?
Yeah, and I mean, if you really scratch beneath the surface, the 20 biggest firms in Australia, from an accounting point of view, I know that 14 of them have been outsourcing for more than 3 years.
Yes.
So what you don't know is what you don't hear. So the big firms, the good firms, the efficient firms are already doing it. It's not new, it's just not publicised. We're the first one that are out there in the Fin Review and out there in the media saying we're doing it, we're reducing costs because of it, and most firms are collecting the extra profit and not passing it on to their clients. That's where we're a bit different.
Absolutely, and we've just had a question come in from the audience which falls in line with that, Nick. This is from Stuart Waddington in Brisbane. He's interested to see if the consensus of accountants is that they must evolve further in the advisory space, and if so, what additional skills and support do they need? Sorry, you've just answered that question beautifully.
Look, they need to be, what we need to do is we need to upskill the accounting profession to be able to give more advice as opposed to doing more compliance. They need to understand it, but they need to be able to deliver advice more. So, you know, 2/3 of your staff need to be basically taught how to sell advice. The other third need to be able to be taught how to train and manage a team offshore. So your one person here will manage 10 to 15 offshore. And all their job is to review and train and use processes and systems which most accountants don't have to actually do that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your contribution for this. I'll get you to mute yourself, Nick, so we don't get that feedback.
No worries.
Thank you. Now, we're talking about systems and processes. One thing I've been really impressed with are the systems and processes behind Xero. I was privileged enough to do a hangout with one of the key Xero people last year, and as I said, I was really, really impressed. So I'm going to invite Justin Campbell to unmute himself now and share with us his question about what does he believe is the major influencing factor for accountants going forward. Welcome, Justin.
Hi. Yes, I mean, I agree with Nicholas that was exactly the same argument that I was going to say, that it's on a two-front. There's the technological efficiencies that are coming in that are lowering the cost of compliance, and also making it probably more switched on. Clients can probably do more for themselves. And then, of course, you've got firms outsourcing, sort of the globalization of I mean, it is just financial services which is driving those costs down, which is ultimately a significant amount of money paying to just work out how much tax they've paid. And to kind of go into a more practical example of what we've been talking about, I was at the mechanic the other day and I noticed all of his systems were paper. You know, so everything he was doing was going at the end of the week, more likely end of the month, he'd have a bookkeeper or someone like that, and then no doubt come in and turn those paper systems into the MyOb file or the QuickBooks file, and there's a lot of double entry, there's a lot of efficiency. By the time it gets to the accountant, the friction costs are huge. That file will need to be converted. It's probably in a terrible condition in terms of the quality of the information in it. So the accountant's probably spending a lot of time fixing that up, and it's months behind. So when they have a conversation with their client, they're having a conversation with their client about something that happened months and months ago. And what the space is, and I think what the accountancy industry is still working it out, and some of our gold partners in our partner program at Xero are really at the forefront of working this out. How do you build services around and charge for a conversation that's about the future rather than about the past? And that's what the accountancy is in. And realistically, that's what we all became accountants for. That we all became accountants because we're interested in accounting subjects we did, which we probably don't use much of, and getting into more of some of that space. And so that's probably my contribution to where the industry is going.
Excellent. And I mean, Xero is at the forefront of cloud-based services for the compliance side of things. What can you tell us? What's the latest update from what you guys are doing?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things. So of course we're constantly pushing. The biggest thing we'd want is where it's not something a feed out. So when you pay a bill in Xero, what we'd like that to do is to be able to go through and pay a bill in internet banking, so you don't have to go into your internet banking. And so it gets to the point where you're just using your accounting system to run your business on a day-to-day basis, and it's dealing with current and up-to-date information. And so we're working really hard to build those relationships with the bank.
So Justin, just to interrupt.
I think with ASB.
Just to interrupt you there for a second, we've just had a really interesting question come in. How does that, just working from your accounting system, can that be supported easily via something that Nick was just talking about, which is having an outsourcing team? If you're looking at it from a business perspective, is that something that can connect really easily?
Yes, because with Xero it has unlimited users, so financial advisors can get invited into it, and you can do all of that. And our partner program is built around you being able to do that. So there's definitely no issues there. And I guess relating to what Nick was saying at all about, you can then Xero has what's called an open API, which means other software can talk with Xero, so you can pull information out of Xero and pull it into some of these advisory type packages where you're going to generate what if analysis scenarios, all these kinds of things where you're going to be doing that value added work, but it eliminates that double entry because you're just pulling the figures straight out of Xero into those products.
Which again leads to more efficiency, doesn't it?
We call it friction cost. So we're all about reducing the friction cost. And the old systems of where you're using multiple data files and things like that, and then if you wanted to produce special purpose financial reports and you wanted to produce then to go that step further and do all kinds of analysis of it, massive downtime in terms of labour, getting them out of one system into another, which really racked up the costs of providing those services.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for those insights and keeping us up to date on all the exciting stuff that's happening with Xero. Thanks, Justin.
No problem.
Excellent. Now I'm going to invite Dean from NAB to unmute yourself and answer our big question for the day. You have a very different perspective from what we've gone over today so far as to what do you believe is the major influencing factors for accountants going forward?
It's an interesting question, and I think my answer, I guess, will be a lot more general because I get to see, I guess, a lot more different types of businesses, and we're sort of, I guess, in a slightly different market or a different perspective from the accounting industry specifically. But what we see as driving particularly the SME market is that small businesses are becoming far more agile, they're becoming far more technologically advanced, and they're communicating and making decisions in vastly different ways. So what our customers are starting to ask us for is changing quite rapidly, and they're expecting a lot more of us. So there's a big, I guess to me that there's two sort of implications to that. One is that we need to understand what our customers are going to be asking of us, and I think that applies to accountants in the same way that it applies to the banking industry. We're incumbent industries, and we are, I guess, open to being having our market eroded by agile, smart little companies that Nick referred to. So unless we have our value proposition tightly scripted and understood, and we can convey that effectively to our customers, then we can lose our connection to our customers, and they'll go to people that they feel more comfortable in conversing to. I think also in the way that we build a relationship to our customers, we're seeing them becoming far more direct to their market, and things like social media and those types of forum are providing a much more direct and personalised conversation to large markets, which means that unless we understand how those sort of new technologies work, we're also going to miss out on engaging new customers and new people and being part of the sales process. So from my point of view, what do I see as affecting the accounting industry is I don't think we can take a lot of our market perhaps for granted like we may have, or expect business to come to us in the same way. We have to sort of converse with people differently, seek out our opportunities a little bit differently, and understand what these new businesses are asking of us.
Absolutely, and we've just had a question, Dean, come in for you from Braden from Sydney. He's asking, do you agree with Nick that, let me just refresh it here. Do you agree with Nick, Dean, that you, or that if the banking sector doesn't keep up to date with their graduates on communication skills and selling skills and advisory skills, do you see those sort of graduates having the same issues as the accounting graduates, which is a little bit off topic, but still a question that came through from Braden.
Just from my own very personal experience, I think what the bank is asking from me as a business professional is vastly different to what it was 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, I was a small business manager, and it was really about process and compliance, and basically very, very much that order taker mentality. Whereas, if we relied on that sort of process or that sort of edict or business process now, we wouldn't be in the market. We've actually got to pursue our opportunities and be seen to add value. And I think that I've heard a number of people talk about what the Australian labour market in general will look like, or what Australian businesses will need to do. And there seems to be a common theme around adding value and being seen to be an advisor. So, Nick's comment there about what his business is trying to achieve is pertinent across all industries. And I don't think anyone can assume that they'll be able to get by without being seen as an advisor or being able to demonstrate the value to their customers. I liked Justin's comment about how Xero is trying to take away friction cost, and I think that's sort of another example of providing additional value opposed to just the basic standard product that, say, MYOB or Recon or other service providers have provided for the last 20 years. All our customers are asking to find out what costs can we remove, what we can do better, what can we control from a central a central information port or a central information technology platform. So customers are asking for more dedicated, more specific solutions that'll have implications for what the professionals around them need to know about and need to advise on.
Absolutely, and it's a shame that Rochelle from Davidson Recruitment couldn't join us today, because she would have been able to actually talk about the recruitment process for the accounting industry, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So thank you so much, Dean, for giving us that overreaching view on what you're seeing, not only with the accountants, but the small business community, because we're all very much linked, aren't we? Oh, he muted himself too early.
too quick, yeah, very, very much so. Thanks.
Excellent, thanks, Dean. Now we're going to try Trent one more time. Hopefully, fingers crossed, his sound is working now. Trent.
Hi,
now,
guys.
Trent, excellent.
Yay.
Trent, yay. So Trent has joined us from the beautiful offices of EWay in Canberra. Welcome to the panel, Trent.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Now I'm going to ask you the big question. What do you see from your experience is the biggest influencing factor for accountants, and do you agree with everything that's been discussed with us here so far today?
Yeah, it's funny listening to each one. I feel the advancements in cloud-based technology is a big factor that is influencing the industry at the moment, and I think from our perspective, I guess we're looking at how that technology will shape and help your clients do business, which will in fact help you as an accountant or a bookkeeper do their books, which is going to give you a more streamlined process and grow your businesses out further. So what we find is that because data is becoming more accessible for accountants and bookkeepers in businesses everywhere, and whether that's an iPhone or an iPad or it's your desktop computer, people are becoming more comfortable with these types of products and services and making just things like payments online. Like if you look 5 years ago, and I know there's still a lot of people out there today, but they're still quite scared to do a lot of these things online with new technology because it is so unfamiliar to them. So I guess what we do know is that retail and e-commerce used to be a B2C, business-to-consumer space, and with the investments coming through with e-commerce in that business-to-business area, businesses are now able to pay bills online. They're able to do their tax online. They can lodge documents. So what comes with that is requirements for secure platforms and flexibility for businesses to ensure that they can recoup all of these charges. So, as an example, the requirement for credit card surcharging that can be dynamically updated. So the growth within that bring your own device space is part of what we see to be a major influencing factor within that industry. And I guess a quick example is a tradie today who has a website. A customer can jump on his website, book in a job, and that comes through on a tradie's iPad in his workflow. He can go to that customer, complete the job. While he's completed the job, he's with his iPad. Oh, would you like to make a payment? They process the payment. That is then automatically reconciled and can be reconciled easily at tradie headquarters on their Xero database, as an example, which then gives the accountant and the bookkeepers access to all of this data. So 5 years ago, what was a messy process of collecting data files, matching up payments, is now becoming very easy to manage and a lot more streamlined. So businesses today can actually become paperless, like we've heard today, and stop that 8-week cycle of getting paid for their work. And I know a lot of accountants and bookkeepers that I deal with on a day-to-day basis that do struggle with this still, where they can spend 30 to 40 days just chasing their debtors, even though they might have, and that's an invoice from 4 weeks before that. So it's one of those ones that as this technology advances, everything gets easier for everybody. So we find that with SMEs and C&G accounting and bookkeeping firms, this will give you more time to focus growing your business. So what we've sort of seen there is an opportunity for accountants and bookkeepers to provide more value-added services and new services such as cloud consulting, software implementation and integration. And we've seen that this can be a huge new revenue stream for the industry. And as Justin's touched on, Xero is a platform that has over 200 odd add-ons, but they didn't start as a cloud-based, it was just an accounting product, but now it's obviously a cloud-based platform with all these extra add-ons that can allow you to do business in your way. So you've got quoting systems, e-commerce web plugins, inventory add-ons, online payment services, and that list will continue growing as people find better ways to interact with that software as they progress on a day-to-day basis. So I mean, you're right.
Trent, do you find that with a payment gateway such as yourselves, that it's a push from accountants to use a service like EWay and Xero together, or is it consumer-led?
It works hand in hand. We find I find a lot of the businesses that are coming to EWay at the moment have either heard about payments and ways to make payments either from their accountants or their bookkeepers, or they've just started Googling and found a new way to do it, in which that's introduced back to their accountant and bookkeeper. So it can be quite often that I'll meet a new customer and they'll give me, they'll let me know, who their accountant is or the bookkeeper is, and we always try to reach out to introduce our service, what we do, and how that can help not only themselves but any of their other clients that are obviously on the Xero software.
And I mean, it's obviously more of a fact now after our conversation today that an accountant's role going forward is going to be more of an advisory role rather than that number crunching role. So if it's truly an advisory role, and Nick, I'll get your input on this, if it's truly an advisory role, then accountants need to be up to date on everything that's going on in business and the new technologies and that sort of thing. Would you see that as being true, Nick?
Yeah, so I think the focus is accountants actually need to be more like business coaches and consultants and really using the technology gives us the data now. And the problem that we've always had is we've always been looking at data that's 6 to 18 months old. Technology now gives us data that's live and accurate, and our whole philosophy with our firm is live and accurate data to actually give advice that's live and accurate. And live and accurate being we can actually use real numbers to add value on where are you now? Do you need to get cash in the next 30 days or you're going to go broke? Or, you know, you've got excess profits. Let's look at how you can grow your business now in a sustainable way without blowing it up and just putting on more staff. So by having the real numbers, we can actually add the value now. Before now, we didn't have the data, we were guessing it.
Yes, yes, excellent. So it's been a really good synergy today. So thank you everyone for your contributions. I hope you all enjoyed your first Google Hangout publicly aired. Justin uses this Google Hangout technology in Xero all the time. So I'll just go through everyone again just to say a big thank you and thank you to our audience for engaging so well and posting those questions. So Trent, do you have any last words of wisdom for our Hangout today?
Yeah, I'd probably recommend that anyone that's new to that online cloud space or they haven't quite dived into that to really get in there and check it all out, because you will find there are so many features and advancements that can really help not only your business but your client's business, and it will make your the way you do business a lot easier. You can focus on growing that business out further.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your contribution today, Trent, and I will email you through the recording to distribute to your clients very soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Trent. Dean, I'll get you to unmute yourself now and just to say a big thank you to you from NAB.
My pleasure. So my sort of concluding remarks would be to sort of go out and see how your customers are communicating, go online, go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook, and really investigate how people are doing business and see what you're missing out on if you haven't sort of gone down that path at the moment. And really investigate how people want to do business and what they really want from you. So, yeah, it's really a changing marketplace at the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we all need to keep up with that, don't we, Dean?
Yep.
It's almost a full-time job keeping up with it.
Yep.
Now, Justin, thank you so much for joining us from Xero and giving us an update on what Xero is up to. Do you just want to say a last goodbye and thank you to everyone watching?
Yes, thank you for everyone for coming along today and listening to us. I'll just say if you go to our website, you can become a partner for free, and we give you a large version of Xero for your practice for free. And the other thing is we have an introduction to Xero webinar. So if any of you are not Xero partners, please jump on our website and check us out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and I love using the Xero product, so it was really it was a pleasure to have you on today. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Excellent. Now, Nicholas, last but not least, thank you so much for your contribution today. I really appreciate it, especially because of the fact that what you said certainly goes in line with what we do here at Your Online Sales Manager, which we actually work with accountants to upgrade the communication skills of their teams and their clients. We feel it's very important that, especially new accountants coming in that have only done number crunching in the past, that they learn to communicate with their clients in an advisory role in the way that their clients want to be communicated with. Especially with the generations coming out of university today, business communication is very different, isn't it, Nicholas?
Oh, it is, and it ties in perfectly. So, look, thank you for the opportunity today. It's been interesting and really, look, it's a great time for the accounting profession. I think we can either embrace it and really help our clients and get into the cloud technology and real-time data, or we can keep doing what we're doing and ultimately we'll lose our clients to the practices that do it. So, thank you for having me. If anyone is interested in outsourcing, just again check out our website, theoutsourcedaccountant.com.au, and happy to share our experiences so far.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, everyone else on the panel, and thank you to our audience for watching today. We will be holding upcoming influence sessions for the accounting industry because we are very focused on working with accountants to upgrade those communication skills for their teams and for their clients. So keep an eye out on our website, youronlinesalesmanager.com, and we look forward to hosting more of these very, very soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.